Hello, this is Andre Lapine speaking from Zebra BI. Welcome to our new webinar called The Definitive Guide to Waterfall Charts. We are continuing our webinar series, and this time we'll try to present waterfall charts a little bit more into detail, what you can do with them, how you can use them in business presentations, in monthly reports, in dashboards. I will try to show a lot of examples from income statements, profit and loss analysis, to accounts receivable, cash flow, and so on. So I hope this will be also practical, so you could use those ideas in practice. Okay, so let's start with McKinsey, because McKinsey is the consulting company that actually popularized waterfall charts. So you will see examples in this book, as well as their material online and so on. So this is one example from this book. It's an income statement. It's a very basic waterfall chart. Note that it is black and white. So we have a black column here for sales. And then we have operating expenses, which are actually bigger than sales, which means that we end with a negative EBIT here, and then with some interest income, gain on sale of gadgets, subsidiary, and so on, we finally arrive at a positive net income. So what we see here is like a visual calculation, a visual representation of this calculation. So we have sales, then we subtract certain costs, and then we have a subtotal here, so an intermediate result, and then we have some other elements, and they add up into final result. So this is one typical example where waterfall charts are really are actually optimal to present data structures like this, where you have calculations. So you add and subtract something. So in most cases you will have an initial opening balance, and then you will have some additions and subtractions and some subtotals, and then the end result. Now, most of you are probably more familiar with a picture like this. So this, I think, is probably the most typical waterfall chart that you would see on the internet or somewhere. It has a column at the beginning, a column at the end, and then it has negative contributions colored in red and positive contributions colored in green, like in this case, right? So, for example, this case tries to explain how we planned for the next year. So how we have arrived at our plan for the next year, right? So it's like presenting the plan for the next year, and we started with this year. And then we plan some competitive pressure and distribution loss and so on. So, but as typically in a budgeting process, we have some advertising hello, a little bit of a prayer, maybe some economic recovery, a little bit of keeping our fingers crossed, and general optimism. And maybe we should add here a push from top management, right? And that's how you arrive at the typical budget for next year. Okay, that's a little bit of a joke here, but that's actually the most typical waterfall chart that is usually called the bridge chart. Obviously, it looks like a bridge. Mostly you will see that they have horizontal axes, so they run from left to right, but that's not necessary, as we will see. So this is a typical example. So you have, for example, previous year value, and then you have some contributions, and then you have the end value. In this case, I have, for example, the total EBITDA value from last year, and now in between I have the variances by strategic business unit. So what we see is a contribution of each strategic business unit. That's why this analysis is called the contribution analysis. Now, in cases like this, you might want to sort the contributions. In this way, it's a little bit more clear which business units are contributing positively to the end result. So they have growth, and then we have some strategic business units with negative growth. And if you add some highlights and comments why we were successful here and what's wrong with strategic business unit 7 and so on, you explain the values and the growth on the same picture, right? So the reporting or presenting is not just creating charts, right? It's creating charts, but also telling a story, so adding comments and highlights and using other means to help people understand what this situation is about. Now, these were all horizontal, so charts with horizontal axis. But of course, a waterfall chart can also run from top to bottom. So for example, here I have the EBIT from previous year and EBIT from this year, but this time I have different elements. So I have the influence of net revenue from 2014 to 2015. So we had a growth. Positive growth here. Also other operating income was growing, so we are now here. But then my material expenses also grew for 10,000 euros, for example, $10,000, for example. But of course, if costs grow, this is then has a negative impact on the end result, right? So you can have situations where you have, for example, like costs, where you actually have a positive figure. Okay, so costs are plus $10,000 higher than last year, but of course this lowers our EBIT. So the first myth of waterfall charts that they have to run from left to right is actually not true. You can take advantage of waterfall charts with a vertical axis like this. The next situation is where you would like to present a structure. So you have certain elements, in this example, certain costs, then that add up to the total. Many people would be probably tempted to use a pie chart here, just drop all the costs in a pie, which would result in a completely unreadable chart. So actually waterfall charts are in many cases a very good replacement for pie charts. More interesting is also the comparison. Okay, these are now the production costs, but what about the price of this phone, right? So if we continue this, continue the waterfall and display the retail price here at the end. In the middle, of course, we have the gross profit. Probably quite a few people would be tempted to break the axis here, to chop those columns, but I wouldn't recommend that, because this is the whole point, right? That the gross profit is more than probably around 60 or even more percent, right? We should add a comment here and display the percentage, right? So if you cut this column here, then you actually produce a visualization which goes against your message. Okay, another example here. This is pocket price example. It's again based on a McKinsey case, which is so we start with our target base price. These are percentages here. So this is 100% now target base price, and then we have some negotiated on invoice discounts and so on. So we have the invoice price, but this is not the end, because then we also maybe offer cash discounts and maybe volume bonuses and freight and so on. And then we arrived at the pocket price, like, you know, the money that you put in your pocket. So it's like the net price, but then you have some other costs, and sometimes these costs can be very hidden and so on. But the point here is that in this waterfall chart, now we added another element. Now here we have direct product costs, and here we have three types of costs, like tooling costs, technical support, and so on, which are customer-specific services. And we wanted to sum those costs here into an intermediate sum, right? So this is now a sub-calculation of only those three costs, and that's why it is displayed like this, right? So this is now the third level. This calculation here has three levels, like the cost types, group of costs here, and the margins. Actually, three levels. So you can actually have multi-level calculations in waterfall charts. Another example, accounts receivable. This waterfall chart presents overdue receivables. So we see this is the total of overdue receivables, and then here we see receivables which are due in which were due up to 30 days. So it's like this, and then between 31 and 90 days, and so on. So we have some intervals here, and what we see then that we have some very old receivables here, very high value, which is not a very good situation, but it's presented in a very graphical way, so I like to use waterfall charts to display accounts receivable. The other thing is, in reporting, you have to go beyond just one chart. In this case, we added another chart for before due receivables. So the money that will come in the next 30 days, we have this value, and then above 31 days and above, we have this value, and this is now the total of before due receivables. And these are now two charts, but these two charts are scaled. Okay, this is very important. So we now have two waterfall charts, but they are scaled because, unfortunately, we have much more overdue receivables here than the amount of money that is coming in, right? So that's why both charts are rendered on the same scale. So the y-axis uses the same maximum. Right, now we have four charts. Okay, so that's why the scaling now is really crucial. Otherwise, these reports would simply not work. So I'm showing the cash flow. So I'm actually showing the future, right? Now, first of all, why are those charts hatched? They use this hatched diagonal pattern, or zebra pattern, as we like to call it. Is because these are forecasts. Right, so this is not actual or past data. This is forecast for the future. Like similar here, right? These are the accounts receivable. These are overdue, so they are already in the past. And this on the right side, this money is coming in, so it's like in the future. So you can use a different pattern just to visualize this fact, right? Especially if you're working with forecasts. This is a standard notation. It is recommended by IBCS standard, International Business Communication Standard, right? So we are always using this notation. So cash flow structures and statements are very different from company to company, depending on the size of the company and of course the industry and so on. But in many cases, the cash flow forecasts and cash flow statements are grouped into three major categories. Cash flow from operating activities, right? So from sales, from receivables, and so on. And then from investing activities, this is the second one. And then the last one is cash flow from financing activities, right? And if you add all three types of cash flow, then of course you get the net cash flow. So here I have cash flow from operating activities. It's positive except from December, where we plan to do something, I don't know. And then from investing activities, right? So we see that again we have some investments. Of course, this chart is usually goes into minus, right? It lowers the cash flow. so it goes down, and then we have a little bit of cash flowing in from financing activities, and this is now the explanation. Right now we can understand how this affects the final net cash flow. Okay, so for example, here I see that I have positive net cash flow at the beginning right here, but then in November and December I have negative cash flow. Okay, so I will actually arrive into a negative state here, negative balance, and I can also understand why, because immediately here up I see that we plan a certain investment, right? There should be again a comment here, maybe a little bit of text explaining what this investment is about and so on. But this is how I understand how my operating activities, investments and financing activities influence my final cash flow, right? So you see, we are using 4 waterfall charts and they are all scaled. Okay, now here I have 12 waterfall charts. So I'm trying to emphasize the power of multiplying charts, the power of using more charts on one page. So it's one page only reporting concept, where you try to put elements and information that is vital to understanding a specific situation. So we have markets here, and this is also one typical example of using waterfall charts, because they can actually visualize growth over time very clearly. So in this case we have some market size from previous year, and now we see the growth quarter by quarter. Okay, so this is quarter over quarter growth, and we see that we have certain markets that are growing in first quarter. Okay, a little bit of negative growth here in second quarter, but overall, again, this is growing, and fourth quarter also growing. So, and that's why we arrived at the final market size in the next year. So it's really easy to see whether markets are growing like this ones, or then here in the middle we have certain markets that had growth in first and second quarter, and then the growth actually is negative, so the markets are going down, and so on. And here at the end we actually have certain markets that are declining. So and you see now from this picture I have 12 waterfall charts, those so classic bridge charts, but they are again all scaled. Okay, only if those charts are scaled I can understand that the growth in painkillers is actually bigger than the growth in anti-epileptics and so on, as well as, for example, that the market of painkillers is a little bit less than twice, almost twice as big as this market, and so on. Okay, so I can understand the relations between absolute values, but also I can understand the actual growth rates. Okay, so we are now going into a little bit more complex examples. So this is a very famous type of report, IBCS compliant report, which is almost a classic. So it's a typical profit and loss statement. So we have licensing, consulting, maintenance, and so on. We have certain revenue which is added up, which adds up to sales revenue, and then we have some other operating income. Okay, and now we have the costs. Operating expenses, purchases, material expenses, and so on and so on. And now here again you see we have the sub calculation. So my operating expenses start here, they go here, and this is my total of operating expenses, and when I subtract operating expenses I'm left with my operating profit. And then Then I have some other elements and so on, so you can have multi-level calculation here. But again here, this part is again a sub-calculation. Not many products can display sub-calculations in this way here. But now this is interesting now because I have the waterfall chart which visualizes the structure of profit and loss statement for last year, for example, for previous year, and then I have another one showing the current situation, so for example this year, and then to complete the report I also have other types of charts. So I have the variance chart here and another variance chart here, which explains the difference between the year of 2012 and 2013. So I have two waterfall charts and then a variance chart and a lollipop chart for relative variance, right, with some outliers which are handled here and so on. But now what you can also do is you can use the waterfall chart also to explain the variance from previous year. So we see the positive growth of license from revenue from licenses, positive growth from consulting, a little bit of negative growth on maintenance services, which explains how I got a variance of 284 on my sales revenue. Then I have some costs. These costs can, of course, either lower the result or, of course, grow the result if the costs would be lower than previous year. But in this case, my purchases, for example, here, or material expenses, actually grew for 43, which again has a negative impact on my operating profit. That's why they go into another direction here. Okay, so this is also one way how you can use waterfall charts to display the variance. So basically here what we have learned is that we actually have two main types of waterfall charts. So first one is this one that we usually display in gray colors or some neutral colors. So this is the so-called structure waterfall chart. So it displays the structure of elements, like the structure of costs, structure of the profit and loss analysis. This could be a cash flow statement, for example, or balance sheet and so on. Whereas here on the other side we have the variance chart. So this is then the waterfall chart that has red and green elements. Also, one difference is that in this chart all labels are just plain numbers. So we had 800, whereas here I have a little plus before the number because this is a variance. It's plus 183 from previous year. Okay, so it's the difference. That's why it's green, and that's why it has plus also before a positive number. Okay, again now with the profit and loss. Okay, this is now a profit and loss statement or an income statement on the level of a whole company, or in this case a group of companies. But then you want to go deeper, right? For example, if you have some strategic business units, or if you have if you own multiple companies and so on, and you want to display all of them, you can use a short profit and loss statement like here. It's a little bit shorter one, but this allows you to put more business units, more markets, more legal entities, plants, or whatever you are presenting, right, on the same page. So again, I have a waterfall chart here for the profit and loss statement, and then another one for my second country, another one for Great Britain, and so on and so on. So you can again multiply charts, but when you do that, again, you have to make sure that the scaling is correct. So we need to understand that most of the money comes from, for example, in this case, from Germany, and what is the actual contribution. So it's the negative variance in net result here. So we are below the budget, and it's also quite big compared to other markets and so on. So everything has to be scaled. Okay, another idea which I like very much, the monthly variances. Monthly variances, I think they work really well in a waterfall chart because, for example, here we have some values. We have actual values until September. Okay, so 9 months of values, and then from October on we just have the budget, so we are in the middle of the year, right? So what we are interested in a monthly report, right, is the year-to-date value, the running totals and so on, or year-to-date, right? And this, I think, is a very nice example because we understand what is the variance in each month, but I also understand what is my current year-to-date value. Even if my current month, like here in April, is negative, I can still see that we are still on the positive side in year-to-date values, right? So this chart will just when you will update the report and get the result from for October, for example, you will get another variance here, and then the year-to-date value, of course, will update. So immediately you see the year-to-date value. So this here is, again, you see a waterfall chart. It does not have the like the opening balance and the ending balance column like we saw in a typical bridge chart. It can also consist just from the variances, just from the contribution elements. Okay, and the same thing, but this time it runs vertical, right? Because usually the rule is use left to right axis, so horizontal axis from left to right for time, like in here, in this case the month, but here we have a structure, so in this case it's better to use vertical waterfall charts. And what we see here is interesting because I now have a waterfall chart displaying the variance from previous year. So I see the countries that are growing, but then we also have some markets, for example, that have negative growth and so on. And here at the end, this is my consolidated result. So this is my total, and so I at the same time I understand the growth for each country, but also the contribution of this growth to my total consolidated result. So this is good growth from previous year. However, when we move to the right side here, this is now the variance to my plan, the business plan. So we see that although, for example, this market had very good growth from previous year, it was still below the budget. Okay, obviously the budget was ambitious here, but that's how it is. So we also understand that this is now below the budget, a little bit also in UK. Then we had some better performing countries like Germany and so on, but still we end up with negative total result. So you see again the variances in the waterfall chart, and two waterfall charts, one for previous year, one for business plan. They are scaled, and in this case these charts are actually embedded into a table. Okay, the good like a good feature of waterfall charts that run vertically is that you can always embed them into tables, right? And then you can do more ambitious or even very ambitious reports, like for example a really very high, very dense, high information density report, like for example this one. You make it small, you add, this was the net revenue, then you add EBITDA, EBIT, or other financial, metrics. And then on the right side, you can present the margins with some other charts and so on. And finally, this is how you can get a really high information density report. This is an extreme case, right? You will probably not do that, at least not not in a very short period of time, so people have to get a little bit of adjusted and so on. But actually this report is actually in use with a few major corporations that use our software, and these are top level finance reports. So just to give you an idea, here we have 6 waterfall charts, all scaled and combined with tables and other charts and so on. So to end up this part, we have 2 types of contribution analysis. So like the gray charts, or not red-green ones that expose the structure of a calculation, or the second one, contribution of variances, where you can have bridge charts or just variance waterfall charts. So these are the types of charts that are used in business reporting. So let's take a look at at a few more examples. We'll do it in Excel with Zebra BI. So how do you insert a waterfall chart? So yeah, these are waterfall charts here. So with Zebra BI, it's really straightforward. I mean, simple, just getting any type of waterfall chart, it just takes one click, right? So you see here we have the 2 types of charts that I was talking about. So the variance, the one with the red-green elements, right, and the structure one. This here now is the example of costs. Yeah, the Apple example from my slide here. So you see, with just one click, you get the whole waterfall chart. The elements are adding up, and this is my subtotal here, production costs, and then we have some gross profit and the ending and the retail price. So how does Zebra BI know that this is now a subtotal? How is it able to just create a waterfall chart with one click without any adjustment of properties or formulas or stuff? The only thing that you need to add here, so these are my cost types here, my elements, these are my values. The only thing that you need to add here is another column. Okay, so this column here is called the category class column, and you use the equal sign for subtotals or calculations, results, right? So production cost, this is a result, it's a sum total here. So of course I have a formula here, so that's why I just type the equal sign here. Without the equal sign, of course this will be just added, right? But this is actually a subtotal, a result. That's why you need to put the equal sign here, and this is how you control the simple structures like this. So simple waterfalls like this, just one click, you get it here, and then you can just create a slideshow. Just click export, and yeah, you're ready to present this. Of course, now the colors and everything else, you can use the style. So in Zebra BI we have certain predefined styles which are very functional and so on, but you can just change any color here in the style section. So for example, the style section here, so the colors, if you're using waterfall charts in Zebra BI, note that these 3 colors will influence the design of your waterfall charts in Zebra BI. So for example, let me create another one. So I'll just copy this style. Okay, let's create a more colorful style. Okay, just for the purpose of this presentation. And now, okay, sorry, I have it already. I'm sorry. The neutral color. So this is the basic color of all charts. So you can let's create a little bit of like a bluish one. Okay, and now here we have good and bad. So these are good is the color of positive contributions. Okay, so the elements that grow, positive ones. So you can use You could use red and green, but I would actually advise you to reserve the red and green color for variances. Okay, so in this case, actually, I think that usually it's good to have the same color, the same or similar color for good elements. And then for bad elements, I like to use I like to actually use the black color. Let's see this. Okay, so now I have three colors plus the variances. Okay, if this would be the variance, the growth from previous year or something, that it would be red and green. And of course you can also change this specific green and red and so on. So okay, so now I have a little bit bluish style here. So now if you switch to, where is it, my colorful style, okay, it looks like this. Okay, if some of this would now go into minus, so for example, of course I don't have minus costs here, but just theoretically, right, if I put, let's just do it wherever, cameras, if you had a minus, okay, this is now the black one, so this is the bad one, right? So it's automatically applied everywhere. So now you have the colorful style, and any chart that you will insert from now on will use exactly those colors. So you can just type in the RGB values of colors and so on. But if you want to customize it, you can just you can just use normal Excel colors and so on. So you can just mix it up. But the good thing is that you can just package your default colors here, and then you use this, select this default style. I will switch back to my Zebra Dark now, and whatever you create, you will get the same colors here. Okay, so if you prefer more colorful slides, this is it, but try to stay functional, right? Okay, so this was the most basic waterfall chart, and as you see, it has vertical axis, so we always have vertical charts and horizontal charts. Okay, so the bridge chart, this one. Okay, now I will use this one. Okay, and that's it. Again, it's completely simple. The only thing you need to do, specify the fixed columns, right? So my opening balance or my EBITDA here has the equal sign, and then I have business units. Okay, and these are now actually variances. Okay, you have to calculate the variance business unit for business unit 1. Okay, what is actual minus previous year, and then you put it here. So you just have the EBITDA from last year. Then you calculate, then you add all your elements here and calculate the variance, and then you finish with the ending result and just put equal sign, equal sign. That's it. If you want to sort, of course, you can just then sort. I just sort normally in Excel, for example. It might be a good idea to sort elements in chart. So just think about it. Every time when you create a chart, just think about the best possible sort order. How you can make things even more clear and so on. Of course, now it would be interesting if you would add like a comment here. This is very good. This is very good. How did we do that in Strategic Business Unit 7 and so on? And maybe another one, what's going on here in this business unit and so on. Okay, and now you can just select everything also with comments. This is another, you can just select a range. Together with comments, you can actually write a headline and other things, and you can also export, and now you have another slide with a waterfall chart here. So you see, I'm just creating my presentation along the way, It's very easy. You just click export and the slides will be added. They're actually always added at the background, so you can just work in Excel and just click on export when you're done with one slide, and then you just go on. Okay, you can actually insert waterfall charts from transposed tables in Excel. So many times you will have maybe data organized in this way. So you will have last year and then maybe your elements, maybe months or something, and the ending value. So it also works here. So Zebra BI always detects detects all the elements and orientation of your source data and things like that. So now I will just move this chart here, okay? And just to show you how you can grow your chart. So for example, when you prepare a visualization like this, maybe next month or something, you will need to add another element, another strategic business unit or something. So what you can do is just the best way how to do it. You just have to remember that here this chart was created from this range of cells in Excel, right? So whenever you want to grow your charts, you just have to make sure that you extend this range. So for example, if you just insert a new column here, right, you have extended the data source, but at the same time my chart was also extended, right, because I have moved it with our move chart function here, with our snap move, so it's completely embedded here between those columns. And now you can just add a new strategic business unit, and maybe at the beginning it will be negative, and so on, so or like this. So it's this is how you can just grow your charts. Or you can just select, if you need more, you can just copy, for example, 4 rows and then insert copied cells, voila, and this is how you can just grow it like this. All right, let's do a P&L. Okay, I want to show you the sub-calculations. This is important for data structures that are a little bit more complex, like for example the profit and loss statement. Okay, so this is now a typical P&L statement, income statement or something. So we have net revenue. Now I have certain costs, certain direct costs like raw material, direct labor, and so on, and then I end up with gross profit, right? So I have 3 costs here, 3 types of costs here, and okay, so these costs now, I have a positive number here. Of course, you could have a negative number. So if your data source, if you are using negative numbers for costs already in Excel, that's fine. Then you'll be fine from the beginning. But actually, from the reporting standpoint, it's actually better to use positive values for costs, right? Because it's actually more understandable. Also in natural language, you say, okay, our raw material costs were I don't know, $215,000 or something, right? You don't say my costs were -10, right? So it's actually better to use a positive number here. But then what you do is here in the column type, class here, you just type the minus, right? So we had equal sign for the result, and minus is then to invert this element. So if I don't do that, if I don't have the minus, okay, then everything is just added up, okay? As soon as I put a minus here, this is now inverted, and now Zebra BI will just invert everything. It will understand that this is now a negative type of KPI here. It's a cost, right? So that's how everything works. Now it would be, for example, interesting to see, okay, now I see raw material, direct labor, freight and cartage, and this is now actually, these are now my COGS, right? My costs of goods sold. And if I want to show what is the total of these cost of goods sold, what you do here is you add another another chart, another row like this, COGS, and of course you calculate the sum and so on. This is the sum now, but here you specify, let me enlarge this, here you specify that this is a subtotal. Okay, let's just insert the chart, and okay, so you see now these are my costs of goods sold. So this is raw material plus direct labor plus labor plus freight and so on. This is my COGS. And how come that they are now aligned neatly here? So it's now so they are displayed, they're aligned with net revenue. So the COGS should be subtracted from net revenue, and what is left here is gross profit. Okay, so that's why here I'm using -4. If I was 4, meaning it is subtracted from the fourth element before this, right? In front of COGS, which is net revenue. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Okay, so it's -4. If I just had 4, okay, then the COGS would go into minus, but this is not the case. It has to be subtracted from net revenue, which is fourth element, and that's how you get the sub calculations. Okay, this is now my third level here. Okay. The important thing when you will work with waterfall charts is the scaling part. Okay, so let me insert my let's see our receivables example. Okay, inserting two charts. Let's make them bigger. Okay. Let's align them. Okay, so my accounts receivable. So two charts with 2 clicks, right? But now you need to make sure that these are scaled. Okay, so this is overdue receivables. It's 580. This is 281. So you click here, shift click here, and you scale the charts. And now this is rendered in the same scale. Okay, and this is how you get correctly visualized charts. Whenever you're using more charts that are displaying the same KPI and so on, there's a very good chance that you will have to scale the charts, right? So now we have 2 charts, but what is even better is more charts. So let me finish with my example from the pharmaceutical industry. So 12 charts, all scaled from one table. This is done in 1 click in Zebra BI. Okay, so it's completely straightforward. So you do the same thing like we did before. Before we had, these are my elements. For waterfall chart, the only thing that I added here is the equal sign and equal sign here. Oh, sorry, this is 2014. Okay, and that's it. And now if you add more elements here, so you see tranquilizers and so on, 12 markets, Zebra BI will detect this, and this is how you get the multiple. Okay, so now you have 12 charts. And now if you, for example, if you change the style, okay, on one chart and select another style, okay, whatever you do on one chart will be transferred to all other charts. You can now change the layout. So for example, if you're using widescreen projectors, or if you're designing for, I don't know, iPhone or something, you will use wider, narrower, more narrow, and so on. And then you can also sort. So for example, you can sort by fixed element in a waterfall chart. So for example, fixed column. Let's sort by the last fixed column, right? This is then the year of 2014. So now I have my markets and I understand the growth of my markets, but I'm also sure that this is now my biggest market, this is the second biggest market, and so on, right? If you want to sort by the contributions in a waterfall chart, okay, you can just change here, change the sort order to contributions, and let's do average, sort descending, and now we have a different order. Okay, so we have the growth, the highest growing market, second highest growing market, and so on, and then those ones in the middle, and so on. It is exactly what I explained in the in my slide before. Okay, now our last example for today is going to be the cash flow. I have my data here, so cash flow from operating activities, my months here, and the total cash flow. I have the formula here, and it's all added up to net cash flow, again with the sum formula here. Okay, this time I'm going to use a predefined template for PowerPoint because Zebra BI has under Add Page command, like this, it has predefined templates which makes easier to create PowerPoint slides. So let me switch to extra large icons here so I can see the preview of those templates. So you have different templates for multiple charts here, 4 charts or 9 charts, 12 charts. You have the ROI tree template and other templates for variance reports or P&L reports and so on. Okay, for this example I'm going to use this one. So 4 charts arranged in a 2x2 matrix. You select the template and open the template. What this does is it adds a new worksheet. So I have a new worksheet here. This is my template. The size of this page here fits exactly to PowerPoint, right? To PowerPoint slide. Okay, how you work with the templates here? You open grouped rows, and this is the area where you prepare your data first, and then we'll insert the charts and arrange them onto the template. Okay, so first step is I'm just going to copy my data here. Just copy and just paste it here. Okay, let's make these columns a bit bigger. Okay, so, and this one as well. So this is my data here. Of course, you could also just link this data like this, right? With you can just link it like this. That's also one way how to do it. Okay, or you could use a pivot table here and then work directly from a pivot table. Okay, so this is my cash flow. I'm going to use the waterfall charts. So I will add an equal sign here. Okay, this is because this column here is my total. Okay, so I need the equal sign, and I'm ready. Let's create a waterfall chart. Okay. What I get are 4 waterfall charts. Okay, so with one click, again, this is a small multiple, so it just takes one click and you will get 4 waterfall charts. They are all scaled, and this is basically it. Now you can just move these charts to the template and you're finished. But since this is actually a forecast of my cash flow for the future, I'm going to do a variation here with a forecast. So how do you tell Zebra that this is now a forecast? What you do is you add another column here in front of your data. So I'll just insert a new column, and here you write a standard abbreviation for forecast, which is FC. Okay, so it's forecast cash flow from operating activities, it's forecast, and then you have your values for month. The same here for investing activities and financing activities and the net cash flow. This is all forecast data, so all you have to do is just add another column here, and now this will tell Zebra BI that this is forecast. Okay, Zebra BI will now detect this additional column here and immediately apply the standard template for forecast. Okay, so this is my final example, and now you can just hide the data columns here. Now you have four charts. So the last task is to fit all those charts into predefined space or ranges for your chart. So you just click on a chart and you can use the chart move function. Just click once on that label and select the range of cells where you want to put the chart. We'll just do the same for all charts here. So just fit them exactly into the predefined space here. And the last one. And my report is finished, so I have 4 charts. They're all scaled. They're exactly on the position where I want them to be. Now you can just type your message here about the cash flow. About your cash flow forecast. You can add, of course, again some comments. What is this investment here? You can add the text box again, so you can explain the this investment here. If your message is going to be about the net cash flow. Here for December, you can also use highlighting ellipses like this one, for example. So that's just another element for highlighting and commenting that you can use. And when you're finished, the only thing that you have to do again, it's probably to export. This time, let's try another one. We'll export to PowerPoint with links. Okay, and this is my final slide. So you see, again, it fits exactly to PowerPoint, and this time it's also linked back to my Excel. So for example, if you now change your data here, okay, let's say you refresh the data, or you just you do a simulation and you want to check how it would be if you change this investment, you shift this investment from November to, let's say, to 4 years, 3 months later to February. Okay, this is already adjusted. So you see now we don't have now we have the different situation, and when you go back to your PowerPoint, it's already updated. Okay, so if you have the PowerPoint and Excel open at the same time, then it will update immediately. Okay, otherwise it will update the next time you open your PowerPoint. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation today. I want to just highlight the resources. For the resources, just go to zebrabi/blog to find more articles about the topic. If you haven't tried the Zebra BI yet, there's a 30-day free trial, so you can just download it and try these examples yourself in Excel. And make sure you go to our support center, so http support.zebra.bi. You will find detailed instructions and everything that I talked about the category, class, column. All the descriptions are here in the support center. Okay, follow us on social for latest news, and here's the Q&A section. We are not focused on any specific industry. Our customers are pharmaceutical companies like Sanofi, Aventis, Roche, and other ones. Then we have Coca-Cola, so drinks manufacturing companies. We have insurance companies, banking, and so on. I mean, we actually believe that this principle of standardized and clear reporting is completely universal, and most of examples and best practices are actually very similar, although of course there are specifics in each industry, but there are actually much more common best practices than people usually think. So it's we are not tied to any specific industry. Okay, can I mix up scenarios in a waterfall chart? This is a very interesting question. Today we didn't have time for this, so we'll do another one, advanced one. At the moment, it's a little bit limited, so if you can please just send me an email. I will give you some ideas, but this is actually something that is planned. Okay, so it's called segmented waterfall charts, when you have different types of segments for different business scenarios. So you can actually mix, for example, previous year and this year with the forecast or budget in the future, and so on. Why use this instead of ThinkCell? It seems very similar to ThinkCell. Maybe it's very similar in the end result, so you can get similar results as in ThinkCell, as long as we are talking about one chart, right? The key difference is that the process is different, because you work directly in Excel, right? So you can just insert charts directly from your Excel values. You can insert or link your charts directly to pivot tables and so on, and then you just create slides, and you can create linked slides and so on. So it's much more it's much more suitable for people who are working in Excel. Right, and the second thing is that it's not just about creating one chart, one waterfall chart, but as you have seen, you can create 12 waterfall charts. You can combine, embed charts into tables and things like that. So it's very, very different in this regard. So in this way it's much more suitable for business reporting and professional business reporting or monthly reporting and so on. You can include manually any type of comments or lines or shapes and so on. Do I have it here? So, for example, Kaggle. One example would be, I actually have a hidden slide here that I didn't show. So, yeah. So, for example, this would be one. So this is something like a Kaggle, right? So it's a cumulative growth. But it's again it's a subtotal, right? So you sum up all the things, and then you use, for example, minus, like we did, -4, right? And you will get this result. Or you can do it like this in the end, or you can do it maybe also here. So you see we have specific elements, strategic business units, and so on. But this then is a sum of all the variances. Okay, so it's cumulative variance here, like Kaggle. Okay, hope this answers your questions. But we will actually add another way to do it with an arrow and so on. So you can just basically select this element and this element, click, and it will add an arrow and display the Kaggle in percent and in other values. Are you free to add you to LinkedIn? Sure, just add me to LinkedIn or our company. I'll be very glad to connect with anybody. So also on LinkedIn and other social media, we usually post news when we do something new and so on. There are a couple of more questions. I will try to answer over the email. Thank you very much to everybody. If you have another question, just shoot us an email and watch out for the next webinar, which is coming up in 14 days.